Says gas stoves reduce cognitive
But we can take that with
performance.
you. And then if somebody else comes in, you can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Funny.
Isn't that the way that they all are though?
Yes.
Don't travel, but we travel. Air
Yes.
pollution, but we have our own personal
Rules
jets.
for thee, but not for
Okay.
me.
Right.
That's
All right.
their,
We may be streaming just right now.
Oh, it says we
Maybe.
are.
Yeah.
I got
It says we are, but what about the audio?
Yeah.
yeah, they might not be able to hear us.
Oh no, they can hear
Oh, you
us.
heard that? Okay, it's not a chipmunk, is it?
No, not this
Or a
week.
helicopter? It was like a helicopter last week. Oh, you guys heard that too? Oh.
Oh, we
okay,
kept testing it.
That
Yeah.
was like, get to the chumma.
I'm glad you found humor in it.
I saw that today, I didn't think
Because
of it
I'm up
last
here.
week.
Ah.
Well, you can hear it on Wednesdays, you just can't hear it on Sundays.
You can hear it just fine from the auditorium.
Yeah, that's right.
You can hear the singing really well. And everybody stopped. Is that? Never mind.
Didn't sound like James Earl Jones.
Well, you know, he's fine. I like Charlton Heston personally.
Oh, Charlton Heston, there you go. James Earl, I would like to hear James Earl Jones in the Bible. I know he does have one.
I don't want any more Peter. I have had enough of Peter the Pirate. I'm not gonna say that too hard. Really. You know
None of
my
that people are
feelings
on
on
that
that.
listening.
I cannot. And the Irish, like Sean Connery. We're not like, I don't need any more Australia. I just want the apostles to be the apostles. Or David. Just be David.
So you don't like Billy Goat Gruff?
Billy Goat Gruff makes sense when you're reading fictional Billy Goat Gruff, but when I'm reading the Bible,
It's okay to do that when you're reading to children, but when
Yes.
you're reading to adults,
Thank you.
says don't
Yeah, well,
take,
some of us are
don't
children,
take
but
from or add to, and that's adding to as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it doesn't add
And
to
it
the
does-
scriptures, it just
See,
annoys
it
me.
adds to the effect.
I'm like,
I love it.
Like,
a fruit drink.
like,
it is the remainder of the peach mango green tea along with lemon water. With a little bit of the tangerine lemon there.
I love the face though, that was awesome. I wish we would have had a picture of that.
It's water.
oh my goodness.
Oh, Laura, don't look over here. You don't want to see that.
I already had a glimpse. I'm okay.
Need a tissue?
Oh, sweet Jesus.
They cost him $1. If they tore it up, I'll spend another $1.
The sad thing is Laura's had cast, and I know what he did before he was asked for
Okay.
the tissue.
At least he didn't use one of those tissues because they have no shit.
Oh, did he do this? Did he do this?
did.
Laura, did he do this?
Yeah, oh, yes!
I didn't do it. I just.
Now we know how to push her buttons.
Don't worry, the only reason why I know this is because I've done that once or twice in front of her.
I do it all the time. It's a good thing I'm sitting way over here. Whatever's handy.
She'll throw her peeps at you.
Well, you know, I thought they were using that in here like kerchief, because I thought they used that another way.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, nice old.
All right, we're right.
She's still making it over here.
Okay.
She got a minute.
Yeah.
If you're watching this on YouTube, Addison, you got 1 minute.
No. Got in for work and needed to shower off the kids.
She's gonna lock the door.
Does
Can you do closing prayer tonight?
Hi.
Please and thank you.
Ain't nobody standing behind you.
South Pacific,
My
I
fiance
think
said,
for her.
well, you never know.
Just kids.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. That, the one song with the nurses, I'm just gonna scrub that man right out of my.
Yeah.
Can you do that with children?
Except for kids can be a little bit with their germs.
Kind of like baby puppies.
But yeah. Good thing you're gonna have some kids
Hi,
to help
Laura.
you with those baby puppies.
Hope you can hear us.
Just one. Yeah, just one.
What?
She said baby, the kids to help with the baby puppies. I said just one. Just one.
But she seems like a lot more.
Oh. They're all knuckleheads.
I'll take her. I'll take her.
Then Riley would.
I don't know, look at his face, you ain't taking nothing.
She will give, Lucy and Riley will love her.
Riley will.
Yes.
I don't know about that.
At first
Anything
they
my
were-
dad's lap.
Well, I do like how you can watch their personalities grow. So like,
Yes.
she used to just, the only way she knew how to play was just attack. You know, and so now she knows that Koshi doesn't play that way. But she
Yeah.
can bounce around
Yes.
like a rabbit and bark at her, and Koshi will bark back, and that's how they'll play. She'll just
Yeah.
sit there and go, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," and
Oh,
then
no, I-
Annie's going back, bouncing around and like, you know, so,
I got candy cane bones for them on clearance.
We
Yeah, I
tried
gave it
that
to
yesterday.
And then all of a sudden, I heard this banging at the back door. And I wish I
trying to take it outside.
Riley was outside. She was trying to come in with it through the donkey.
It was the door.
She's
I'm gonna
not
guess
sharp as
Addison,
no.
maybe.
She went in her mouth, and all I could see was this wagging tail, like, let me in! Oh, it
Fun.
was so funny. I wish I would have gotten a picture. And I'm like, what is that banging? And then I realized what it was.
How funny.
Yeah, Lucy and Riley, now that her knees are all better now, usually anytime after 7 is puppy play time, and they're fighting and chasing and But they don't- I mean, they bite at each other, but they don't,
Yeah.
it happens pretty much every evening.
Well, I feel really bad for Frank sometimes, because all Annie knows how to do is bite, and she'll bite on the
Yes.
collar, but then she'll like get the
Scabs from
sheets, and she'll be
Riley.
like playing tug of war, and
Yes.
Frank's just like,
Yeah.
he's
Yes.
trying really hard to be
We would have to pull
They're
Riley,
helping us out.
we have to pull Riley
Right.
off of Lucy, and she had
You know.
scabs on her neck from little puppy teeth. It was nuts.
Yeah, they have sharp teeth too.
Oh, yes,
But
they
I thanked Frank for him being the getting chewed up and not me. So, all right,
When Frank was a puppy, it was
it was just us.
constantly chewing on us.
I could imagine that. Too bad you didn't have applied flutter back then.
I know. Annie has no fear of that. She'll just run right by. But Frank,
She
he's
got that, Jeff?
no.
Oh, okay, well, see, I think that's the key.
That's the
I'm
secret.
telling you.
We're actually with a hula hoop.
Oh, we should. Yeah. Well, you guys can experiment.
Throw 'em away then.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna shift away from talking about dogs. I need a break, mental break. Let's talk about Joshua. So Joshua chapter 15. Like we said last week, chapter 14 begins a brand new section, right? It's we're going to start dividing up the land amongst the names of the people and city names and all that good stuff in chapter 15. We're gonna read through here in a little bit. Chloe's already handed out this sheet. We are going to only read the bolden, larger words, and you still have a personal responsibility to read all the names yourself, though, because you never know. I could get tricky and ask you questions about.
Like next,
And don't be like Chloe and cheat and other people's C versus. I saw her answers. She did that. Anyway, anyway.
And there was nothing wrong
There's
with the
nothing
answer.
wrong with it until you do what I did and put C verses 20 through 63, which is the.
That's all right. That's all right.
That's cheating. You can't do that.
hey, she answered.
She answered, well, at least she wrote it down, I guess. All right, so chapter 15. I'm going to read to you a little bit of what Kaufman says in regards to this chapter. He says, this is a chapter that deals with the actual division of the land of Canaan. Judah, as we have seen, was first by right of Jacob's blessing, and here we have an outline of the borders of Judah's territory in ideal terms. That's Joshua 15, verses 1 through 12. An account of Caleb's occupation of Hebron in Debir, verses 13 through 19. And a statistical list of the cities awarded to Judah in verses 20 through 63. I like that because I thought that was just a nice, really quick summary to break down the chapter. But did anybody else have this thought while they were reading through here? How in the world might this chapter apply to us? Do sometimes we think that, though, when we're reading through, like...
having a hard enough time trying to get through all these names.
So let me just propose that. Is there any application?
Yeah, they obeyed
Yeah.
God, and because of it, they're getting their reward.
All right,
Well, and there's-
excellent.
There is also strict definition. I mean, it is a laid out to the T, where our salvation is laid out to the T. You have to follow the blueprints.
That's a good way to look at it.
But I don't know how that's looking now, but it was very detailed.
But I wrote down exactly what Vera said. You know, it was about there's blessings for obedience, and they're being blessed, and they're receiving the land, and they're dividing it out, and then and they're getting these different cities, and so really this chapter deals with one particular tribe, right? And we'll get to that here shortly because it's anyway. All right, so if you have this handout, like I said, we're going to read the bolden words, and they are a little bit bigger than the other words. I've made the other words a little bit smaller just so that you can fit 63 verses on one sheet.
That's a lot
So.
to fit on one sheet.
Yeah, I think otherwise it was going to be like 3 sheets. So anyway, let's start in verse number 1. It says, so this was the lot of the tribe of the children of Judah, according to their families. The border of Edom at the wilderness of Zin. Southward was the extreme southern boundary, and their southern border began at the shore of the Salt Sea from the bay that faces southward. Drop down to verse 5. The east border was the Salt Sea as far as the mouth of the Jordan, and the border on the northern quarter began at the bay of the area, or the bay of the sea at the mouth of the Jordan. And down verse 12, the west border was the coastline of the great sea. This is the boundary of the children of Judah all around according to their families. Verse 13, now to Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, he gave a share among the children of Judah according to the commandment of the Lord to Joshua. And Caleb said, verse 16, he who attacks Kirjath-Sepher and takes it, to him I will give Achsah, my daughter, as wife. So Othniel, the son of Kenaz, the brother of Caleb, took it, and he gave him Achsah, his daughter, as wife. Now it was so when she came to him that she persuaded him to ask her father for a field. So she dismounted from her donkey, and Caleb said to her, what do you wish? She answered, give me a blessing, since you have given me land in the south. Give me also springs of water. So he gave her the upper springs and the lower springs. Verse 20, this was the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Judah, according to their families. The cities at the limits of the tribe of the children of Judah toward the border of Edom in the south. And then you have the listing of cities there. Then you drop down to verse 33. In the lowland, and then you have the listing of the cities there, and then verse 48, and in the mountain country, in those cities, and in the wilderness, verse 61. As far as the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah could not drive them out, but the Jebusites dwell with the children of Judah at Jerusalem to this day. All right. Again, you can read those names on your own time. Otherwise, we'd be here for a long time, and you would be bored to tears just listening to me say name after name, butchering name after name, so we don't want to do that. All right, so question number 1, whose southern border began at the shore of the Salt Sea?
The tribe of Judah,
All right, so the verses
1 and 2.
1 and 2. All right, so the tribe.
Jesus' tribe.
All right, so the tribe of the children of Judah. So this is the beginning, right? The opening verses here, all the way through verse number 12. This is the beginning of the general boundaries. We have all 4 sides, and it just kind of reminded me of what John said last week about reading a description, right, of the deed, on the deed, and so it's very descriptive. Question number 2: the eastern border extended as far as the what?
The end of the Salt Sea from the bays that face the southward.
Okay.
The Salt Sea as far as the mouth of the Jordan.
All right. Verse number
5.
All right, verse 5. So I was thinking a little bit about this. What is the mouth of a river?
It's
The
very
beginning.
close.
Yeah, the opening of the.
Okay, whoa, I'm getting multiple answers here. Let's try it again.
Where it connects with the larger body of water and then it flows in and starts the river part, goes inland.
Okay, any other guesses?
The mouth was the beginning of the river.
No?
I thought the mouth was the end. So.
The mouth is the end, so you think the headwaters would be the beginning of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Jordan River, the mouth of the Jordan actually
I didn't
was
know
at.
what the beginning was, but the mouth. My geography teacher told us that it vomits out.
So that's how I remember it.
Well, where was
As
the?
a 3rd grade kid, that was kind of like, yeah, that's funny.
It's a good comparison. So where would the Jordan River be vomiting into? Yeah, here's some gross. Rather than
Well, here would be the Salt Sea.
all right,
The Salt Sea as far as the mouth of the Jordan.
all right, so that'd be the Dead Sea, which is I think that's kind of a good comparison because it's the Dead Sea, right? I mean, it's
So much salt.
yeah, so much salt. So we know where the mouth of the Jordan was, right? It emptied out. To put it in a better way, it emptied out into the Dead Sea. Any guesses as to where it started? It doesn't say here.
The Nile, maybe?
No. John, you looked like you were dunking a basketball. Or further north, right?
much
Yeah.
further north.
Yeah. How about Mount Hermon? Yeah, Mount Hermon is where it started, and it started as, you think like the Rocky Mountains, right? They have snow, so there would be snow and moisture that would run down the mountains that would feed into that. This verse came to me to this passage, Psalm 133, verses 1 through 3. Mount Hermon was important, and it was important for the Jordan River, Psalm 133. If somebody wants to read that, I think 133 is the entire, verses 1 through 3. I think it's the entire psalm, yeah.
Once you said, I knew.
Yeah.
Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious oil upon the head, running down on the beard of Aaron, running down on the edge of his garments. It is like the dew of Hermon, descending upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, life forevermore.
So the dew from Mount Hermon had a blessing, didn't it, on, because the Jordan River ran through that area. Anyway,
I just Googled where's the beginning of the Jordan River. And Wikipedia says it's got the Anti-Lebanon Mountains. Anti-Lebanon.
Mount Hermon, that's Wikipedia.
Mountains.
That would be people today calling it that, yeah. Yeah,
Today's comic, Anti-Lebanon Mountains.
It's kind of a strange way to put that.
I
Huh?
think there's a little
That's
bit of
telling
malice
you
in
that
that
it
name.
ain't in Lebanon. It's anti-Lebanon.
Yeah. All right, so question number 3, unless anybody got anything different there. Let's see, question number 3, what is Jerusalem?
The
Jebusites?
southern slope of the Jebusites. Jebusite city.
All right, verse 8. All right, so Jebusites. What do we know about Jebusites? Well, they weren't Israelites, so they were living in this area of Canaan. So can you guess? They were Canaanites. I'll put it that way. They were Canaanites, but they were descendant of somebody. John, do you remember who they were descendants of? All right, well, Noah had how many sons? He had 3 sons, so I'll let you guys guess. Which one of the 3 sons was he directly a descendant of? Very good. He was a descendant of the son of Ham, so he would have been a grandson of Noah. And that goes back to, you read about more genealogy over there in Genesis chapter 10, specifically verses 6 through 20. It was also Ham and Canaan that there was that curse. Remember that was that curse that was put on them? And then Genesis 9 verse 25, Noah said that Canaan would be a servant of servants, or he would be a servant of servants. He shall be to his brethren. So that was kind of interesting. So these Genesis 9 verse 25. So Canaan's descendants were going to be a servant of servants to the brethren. So question number 4, what was the west boundary?
Coastline of the Great Sea.
All right, verse 12. All right, so what's the Great Sea?
Wait, okay.
Mediterranean?
All
No.
right, yeah, that would be the Mediterranean Sea. And we're getting all this good geography, aren't we? Biblical geography. What's that, Catherine?
I got number 4 wrong.
Got it wrong.
Taking the class again.
Yeah, we got this table over here calling for you to retake it.
One question? No, I got it wrong twice because I put either or. Top of the mountain before the valley of
Hey,
Hinnom,
Catherine,
or Mount Seir.
turn you got your Bible open?
Yeah.
Turn back a page to where it has the thing that says God's just destruction of the Canaanites. See the map? It says the Mediterranean Sea and then the Great Sea, so.
Yeah.
And it actually shows you where all of this
Yeah,
is divided up.
I have verses 8.
I should be using that Bible with the maps. Yes.
I wrote it all out.
So verse 12, the west border was the coastline of the Great Sea. Was the Israelite people a seafaring people at this time?
Not yet.
Were they a seafaring people? No. Did they ever become seafaring? Like, not that we know of. I mean, did they go out on lakes like the Sea of Galilee? But
They spread
You got a
out.
Navy now.
yeah, but they spread out because of the captivities. So I don't think they ever traveled on the ocean per se. But has anybody ever thought about? I wonder why. Were there others seafaring nationalities? Maybe not a whole lot, but you had like the Phoenicians. Well, the ancient Phoenicians.
All got it wrong.
Inside joke, apparently. How about the ancient Phoenicians? They were seafaring people. So wonder why the Israelites never went out on the sea.
Maybe they were afraid of these other people.
Well, and they
Well-
only walked through water, they've never actually like traveled on it.
Well,
Why do you,
well,
why would you need to go sail the water when you can just have God separate the water?
Well, I came across this theory.
Okay.
How about the fact that they had passages like Job that talked about the Leviathan?
Yeah.
And then it has some of the ancient Psalms that talked about the Leviathan. And then, obviously, Isaiah later on references it. And then Jonah with the great fish that swallowed. So it kind of confirmed that there's sea creatures.
From right here
Yeah.
on the shore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just so far, they didn't have any interactions with water. I mean, when they were enslaved, they were in Egypt.
Yeah, not the huge oceans of water.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
I mean, water
about it like
Yeah.
this too. because
And they heard
know that
stories
they-
of the.
Twice they walked through waters that
Yep.
were parted,
Yeah.
and they could probably see the things that were in that water
That
too. So
is-
Probably helped
My
solidify
favorite
some
scene
fear.
That would freak
In the
me out.
Prince of
man.
Egypt was when they're walking through the sea, you see this, I mean, it looked like a whale. But, I mean, I don't know if there was a whale.
I mean,
It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
but they show the silhouette of a whale swimming on the one side. And that is my favorite scene in that movie.
Not
Okay,
only
thank
that, but then they saw the power come
Yeah.
down and wipe
Yeah.
everybody else out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't know how deep the water was at the time either.
So maybe they didn't go out
yeah,
too much on the water because of fear.
yeah.
Yeah.
They probably didn't have.
Maybe they had some superstitions as well. We do know that they did have superstitions.
They needed it.
All right. So, are there any other thoughts or questions or comments from verses 1 through 12?
Up to that point, I was reading easily.
It kind of was not too bad of a read.
Yeah.
The next section's not too bad either.
No, it was
Not too bad. It's that last section.
I was just gonna say, for the longest time, they were in captivity, making bricks and building buildings for, their masters, and then they were wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, so I mean, there wasn't really much time to learn how to build a boat and go fishing.
They didn't have much need for that. I mean, they were shepherds.
And
I mean,
whatever they
it's
needed to do, like when they were building the tabernacle, God just gave them the
yeah.
knowledge, so.
So, I mean, it would be like a shepherd's not going to one day just, unless he's got some reason to get rid of all of his sheep and then to go into the fishing business. I mean,
I think I descended like these people, I don't like the water either.
all right, so this next section, verses 13 through 19, might even say verse 20, depends on how you look at it, is a reference again to the special inheritance of Caleb. So, question number 5, who does the Bible say Caleb drove out?
The three sons of Anak from Hebron,
All right,
Shani, Ahiman, and Talmai.
oh, very good. So, verse
14.
14, right. I didn't even write their names down. I just,
So that should cancel out my wrong answer.
let's take a vote. Does that cancel out her wrong answer?
Yeah, she can be all right.
No.
We canceled out other people's wrong answers for a bonus.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm harsh.
We'll,
No.
we'll have to.
Nice.
I move your way, Dave.
We'll flip a coin later. All right, so the three sons of Anak, and then if you name them, that's great. Verse 14. These were the giants that Moses told Israel not to fear. But did the Israelites fear them?
Yeah.
Yeah, they feared them. And then was God angry with the Israelites because they feared him? Yeah, I mean, God gave them the land. That was their land. The first generation, all they had to do was go in and take it. And they didn't have to wait till
And they've already
Joshua's time.
seen God work miracles, so
Yeah.
it's
I
like
know.
you
To see everything
think
that he'd
would
already
trust
done.
him a
Yeah,
little
you
bit
did.
more.
So maybe that's why he got even more angry with them, because they'd already seen the miracles and they knew he would have taken care of those giants. Anyway, you read all about that in Numbers 13 and the retelling of it in Deuteronomy chapter 1. But notice that Israel didn't kill them, right? It doesn't say they killed them, but it says they drove them out. And those giants would have then, or those people would have settled in a differing areas. And you remember one of those cities was named Gath, and there was a famous giant who came from Gath much later on. You remember his name? Goliath, yeah. And you can read all about that 1 Samuel 17, verses 4 through 7. Who took on Goliath? All right.
Shepherd.
A shepherd. All right. Question number 6, unless anybody's got anything else in regards to that. Question number 6 on the back side of the sheet. What was the name of Caleb's daughter and who did she marry? All right. Verse.
The son of Kenaz, the brother of Caleb, so her cousin.
Verse.
16 and 17.
All right. So I'm going to say a couple things on this. Jewish genealogy can get a little weird. So I'm researching this more, and there's differing theories, and it depends on the commentators that you look at. And I'm not going to get into all the particulars because
There ain't that many branches.
it's mind-boggling to try to keep it all squared away. For one, for two, we're English readers, and I think maybe sometimes things get lost in translation. And remember, this is written in Hebrew, and there's jots and there's tittles and there's little symbols and all that. Let's just put it this way: she was married to a near kinsman. Like, and today we would be
it's
like,
different because the gene pool is much more pure than versus years later. It's not as pure, so that's why God's like very strict on, hey, don't have relations with near kinsmen like that.
well, so reading through some of these commentaries, there's some people that believe that Othniel was actually Caleb's brother. So if Othniel was Caleb's brother, then that would mean that she and Othniel were brother and sister. That would have been forbidden in the law.
Yes.
That's way too close for a kin. It gets confusing. So
Why would they say that? Because it says, so Othniel, the son of Kenaz.
because these
was-
people are reading it in the Hebrew,
Oh.
which you look at it in the original Hebrew words. It's where things get a little confusing.
Brother
But-
also is used for the term for any kinsman.
Any kinsman, so a near kinsman. That's why like Ruth
Yeah,
and
so
Boaz
like a
were
13th
used.
cousin
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you still call them brothers.
So we do know they were related. How close of a relation, I don't know, but they were related. And it's besides the point because we can read through this and we can go, I'll keep your thought. Because we go like, ew. But who were the Jebusites and the Hittites and all these other ites? Who were they marrying each other? So it's, anyway, no different, but God did have laws, to regulate all that. And it's ancient world, and their laws are not our laws, right?
Well, when you
So
also think about Adam and Eve, how did they all married each other.
they
Yeah.
had to have,
They
right?
had to
Yeah.
calculate the years.
Yeah.
Jody.
Well, you were saying earlier, like when we were having this discussion at the house, that saying the son of could mean kind of like that's the lineage, like they come from. So
Yep.
like I am son of Adam or son of Abraham, or like this is their lineage. So doesn't necessarily mean this is cousin or uncle.
Like a direct, yeah,
And-
like we
and
think of like
even
first
cousins
cousins
are
or.
like brother,
Yeah.
I mean they're brothers in battle together. So I
Yeah.
mean,
So they
we could
were,
read into it or we could not read into it.
so they were related, and that's about all I want to say on that because it does get a little overwhelming, at least for me anyway. Othniel, though, I want to say a couple things about him. His name has an interesting meaning, depending on which Bible dictionary you look at. Like Hitchcock said, Othniel means the hour of God. Easton Bible Dictionary says lion of God. That was kind of an interesting description of him. Othniel went on to be a pretty important guy. If you keep on reading, after the book of Joshua comes which book? The book of Judges. Man, I read a description of the book of Judges earlier. I think it was yesterday. I wrote it down. It was in the introduction. It said the book of Judges could be called the book of failures. I was like, wow, that's pretty sad.
Ouch.
We may get to the book. We may go into the book of Judges next. I don't know. We'll see. It was a bad time, right? But anyway, Othniel, to bring us back to Othniel, Othniel was the first judge. Same Othniel. You can read about him in Judges chapter 3, verses 7 through 11. And Judges isn't like, I just like to remind people of this. It's not like the guy wearing the black robes, or the guy or lady wearing the black robes sitting on banging a gavel. They were a deliverer. They could make judgments and decisions, but they were also deliverers for the people. But to go back to the book of Judges, what made the book of Judges bad? Or that time period has also been called the dark period. The people.
They didn't listen. They didn't obey God. They went and did their own thing.
You had several times, at least 2 times in the book of Judges. You had Judges 17 and verse 6, in chapter 21, verse 25, that said the people did what was right in their own eyes because there was no king. In other words,
6 and what?
17:6 and 21:25. They did whatever they wanted to do because there was no official leadership over them.
And they cried out for a king.
Later on, yeah. And they were warned. They were warned a couple times. Moses told them earlier. He says, don't do what's right in your own eyes. Deuteronomy 12, verse 8. There was a warning there. I said, if I remember this right, and I don't have the cross-reference written down, but there's a passage that they were warned, if you get a king, this is what the king is going to do to you. He's going to oppress you. He's going to tax you. You're going to basically become a slave to the king. And I believe that was from Moses. And did that happen? Absolutely, it happened. So,
Coming out of captivity, I mean, it was kind of like, I mean, they were slaves, but it was kind of like they had a king, and it's like they just wanted to go back to what their ancestors had come out of.
Kinda, yeah. All right, so that's question number 6. She married Othniel. Question number 7, what did she ask for?
A
Well,
field.
she got like.
Well, she
Springs
got
of
land,
water.
springs of water. Yeah, verse.
19.
18 and 19.
All right, did you
The
know?
upper and the lower springs.
Did you know that this exact section is retold in Judges 1, verses 12 through 15? It is almost nearly verbatim about her asking for and getting that upper and lower springs. Judges 1, verses 12 through 15. All right. So that section was, other than trying to piece together people's family trees and all that and keep that straight in our minds, that was a pretty easy section to grasp, to understand. But was there any other thoughts, questions, comments before we move into this last section? All right, this is where things get a little fun. Question number 8. This section is about the cities of which tribe?
Judah.
Judah. All right. So in this list, I saw this a couple times in different articles and commentaries. In this list of names, it was pointed out that there was one city that wasn't mentioned, and that would be the city of Bethlehem. And they said they found it kind of interesting because was Bethlehem was it a popular city? Was it a big, well-known city?
No.
I mean, even when
Then.
wasn't well known even in Jesus' day. It wasn't very popular. But you had in Micah 5 and verse number 2 talking about how this insignificant city, and it was so insignificant here in Joshua 15 that it wasn't even in the list of cities names. So, but one day it would be honored. And Bethlehem is honored in a sense, isn't it? All right. So then we get into the section of city names. If anybody would like an alphabetical list, I didn't do it. I didn't write it down. But you can go into Kaufman's commentary. You can find it online, or you can order one of his books, but it's free online. So you can go on Kaufman's commentary here, and he has all the names alphabetized. If that so intrigues you, if that floats your boat. Anyway, question number 9 is kind of a fill in the blank, wasn't it? I hope nobody had a problem with that. So they had cities in
In the lowland.
all right, verse 33. So 3 blanks there, in the lowland. What about the next section?
And in the mountain.
And in the mountain country.
All right, verse 48. And
In the wilderness.
all right, verse 61. Did the teacher leave out a section of area of land? Verse 21. How about the land to the
South.
yeah. So I missed that one, but that's all right. So the land to the south there, bordering with the area of Edom. And then, so let's think about this land for just a minute. The lowland would have been the land between the mountain and the Mediterranean Sea. And then you have what our English translations have, the mountain country. Could also be known as the hill country. And so while you have hills there, sometimes with hills you also have plateaus. And what is a plateau?
Flat.
It would be the flat land at the top of a hill. You can certainly stand on plateaus. That's a good thing, right? So I think sometimes, at least for me anyway, I think of mountain country or mountainous. I kind of think of like the Rocky Mountains, but this would be more of I can give you an example. I can give you a personal example. We go to Missouri in the Ozarks. They're called the Ozark Mountains, but people in Colorado would laugh because they're not really mountains. They're more just like really hills. They're not even, I was going to say really big hills, but they're not even really big compared to like the Smoky Mountains. But down there you have different plateaus and different regions of plateaus. That's kind of the idea there. And then the wilderness would be what's been called the Sunken District. And where do you think the Sunken District would have been around? If you had a guess.
How about below sea level?
Below you remember what was below the sea level? There was a big body of water, wasn't there? How about the Dead Sea? All right, very good. So the Dead Sea, anybody know how far below the Dead Sea is below sea level? I'm just throwing out all kinds of geographical information at us. It is 1,000, I wrote down my notes, 1,412 feet below sea level.
That's pretty low.
Yeah, 1,412 feet below sea level.
That's like half a mile. 50.
I don't know. I didn't research the mileage there. Quarter of a mile.
Well, when you're there, you don't notice it because you're.
1,600 meters is a mile.
This is too much math. And you know how I am. You know how I am with math.
So it's less than a quarter of a mile.
And about
It goes across the river there. You go over there and talk meters. We were talking feet, and you started talking meters.
in probably about 5 minutes or so, we can Google it, and we can know for sure.
I was like, yeah, you're probably already on that.
So.
It's something else, but I would have Googled it.
So yeah, you're not going to have a steep just drop off, but it's going to be a haul, right? I'm sure there's some areas that were steeper than others. Quite the difference. All right, question number 10. What does this passage say about the Jebusites?
They could not be driven out, and they dwell with the children of Judah to this day.
And they inhabited Jerusalem.
All right, verse.
63.
All right, so it's kind of a somber way to end the chapter, right? It's like Israelites couldn't drive out the
Yeah, okay, you can leave it in.
So it would seem as if Israel would go in, they would take an area, they would occupy an area or a city, and then they would leave and go to another area to take it over and to occupy. And they took over Jerusalem, but they didn't really stay there. And so it seems like the Jebusites were just there. But who eventually had to, for lack of a better term, take out the Jebusites and take over the city of Jerusalem? It happened eventually, but it was going to be a long while. Anybody remember who eventually did that? He was a king. He was one of the kings of Israel. One of the first three kings, so that would narrow it down a little bit. So let's, first letter, K for king. We had Saul, we had David, and we had Solomon. So who was the one that took over Jerusalem?
David.
It was David. And you read about that in 2 Samuel 5, verses 1 through 12. So even though they possessed the land and they had the city, they didn't really do much with it, and they let the Jebusites continue to live there until David took over, and then he's the one that
I thought that name sounded
conquered it.
familiar, but back in chapter 9, they were part of the treaty with the children of Israel.
Yep.
So
So
they probably also felt like they said that they want to hurt these people.
I'd have to go back and look at that. They had a treaty with them? I thought they only had the treaty with
They
the.
were part of the chapter 9.
They made it. I do remember there was a treaty with the 5 kings that were, or the other king, the Amorite kings. You're challenging me here.
Well, I looked back to chapter 9 because,
Okay.
yeah, right here, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite.
Okay. They all made that alliance to go against Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Israel only made one treaty, and that was with they were tricked, right? The Gibeonites, Hivites.
They gathered together to fight with, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were the.
Yeah, they were
ones
part
that
of
went
the,
against
yeah,
fight,
yeah.
not. Okay, so I was mistaken there.
All right. So the bonus question, what city was known as the city of salt?
Ibshan.
All right, verse. All right, that wasn't very tricky. I can't wait for next week's bonus question.
Roughly a quarter mile below.
Roughly a quarter mile. All right, thanks for Googling that, John.
It's 430 yards, 430.77.
Okay, more too much math. We're good.
All right.
While we're at it, let's
So
go ahead
that
and
means
add
it's
up
less
all
than a quarter of a
these
mile.
cities.
A quarter of a mile is 400.
Okay, John.
You know, Vera, I thought about asking a question like
I thought
that,
we were going
and I
to,
thought,
so like when I was reading through it, I underlined each time it mentioned the number of cities in each.
that was overwhelming. That was.
I got it.
And then I looked down at the bonus question and I went, oh, that wasn't the bonus question?
I felt really let down.
I mean,
But it was good because then that was a question I wasn't expecting. So I was like, oh, wait, I didn't look at that one, so then I had to go back and read it again.
so out of curiosity, did you count how many cities there are in total?
because I didn't
Oh,
ask, because when I got there in the bonus question, it asked me how many cities, I didn't even know.
well,
He
okay.
told you in each part that you were reading how many cities were there.
Yeah, but I'm saying the total, I was expecting him to ask the total of them.
Well, then you take 14.
Right.
Well, I don't know, does it? Because I see like down in verse 60, it says, in Rabbah, 2 cities with their villages.
Right.
So it
But
wasn't-
There's,
Oh, I see verse-
32,
yeah.
There's 29.
Yeah, and I
cities,
see verse 50,
and
it says
then
11 cities.
36 has 14, 41 has 16, 44 has 9 cities.
It's too much
and then,
math.
9 cities down here and 2 cities.
tell me?
6 cities.
6 years in the wilderness.
So,
Too much math for me. I was like, I was just, I was just,
But you threw me off, and it
I
was
was-
good because I was expecting you to ask one
Well,
question.
it was less
And then I
than
was
50.
like, oh, a city, we're looking for something called the city of, what is going on?
I was just overwhelmed with the genealogy of, all right. Anyway, I'm looking forward to us discussing the bonus question for next week. Looking forward to that.
I can't wait.
All
I'm
right.
excited.
All right. So,
They're just having their own conversation over here.
I feel like
The warning about a king with Moses. It's like a dog with a bone, you can't let it go.
See, we found that Samuel
Yeah.
did make a warning in 8.
oh, okay. So, okay. Gotcha. The warning from, well,
About a king.
Samuel before you.
Samuel warned. Okay.
First
Yeah.
Samuel 8, yeah.
Yeah.
Find where Moses did.
Gotcha. I don't know. Deuteronomy 12:8. He does warn them not to go in the way of man, to not obey. Somebody want to read that? Deuteronomy 12:8.
Shall not Well, you shall not at all do as we are doing here today, every man doing whatever is right in his own eyes.
Yeah, and that's what they were doing in the Book of Judges. Everybody was doing whatever they wanted to do. It's kind of anarchy.
Oh,
Kind of how America is today.
Deuteronomy 17:14.
Well, you could say that about a lot of things.
Did you say Deuteronomy 8 what?
Deuteronomy 12, verse 8. I mean, sometimes jobs are like that, right?
Yeah, denominational.
I mean, you can, and I should just stop there. I should just stop there. I mean, you can read into that all you want. So, all right.
Tune in to part 2 of my lesson for this Sunday.
Well, you have audio because
I keep trying to share it, and I'm like, oh.
I know I had to delete the link. I'm feeling really bad. So if you're watching this tonight, we've been trying on Sundays to stream, but we're just having some technical issues. It starts and then Chuck breaks it. I don't know. Sorry, Chuck.
The title of the lesson
not-
is part 2, and it's, are we going to take the backbone out of the Church of Christ?
Well, I like it.
Sounds good.
Can you put John on the prayer list, because he went back to the doctors today. He does have pneumonia, and he's gotta go for a CAT scan tomorrow to see if anything else is going on.
I know. Okay. So pray for John. Let's remember to pray for Harriet. I'm not going to say anything about her health. She can, next time you see Harriet, you can talk to her personally about it or give her a call. She could probably use some encouragement. Yeah. All right. If there is nothing else, Dad, if you would close this, please, with prayer.
Father in heaven, as we pray to you tonight, we ask you to continue to bless us and watch over us. Continue to bless Brother John and his good reports and the doctors. Bless him, Father, let him get rid of the pneumonia as fast as he can. Watch over him, Father. Also continue to bless Sister Harriet, Father. She's suffering quite a bit. Pray, Father, that you continue to bless her and make her completely well again, so that she can be back with us, Father. Bless her, Father. Be that will, make her well. Go with us all now, Father, as we go on through this week. Bring us back to the services of Sunday morning. Go with us now, Father. Follow these blessings, we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye. Laura, if you're still watching, my phone died, so I don't know if you're still there or if anybody else is out there.
Tell Rob.
You're welcome.
Only
Good
be about
night.
49 minutes long.
I'll let him know.
On the preaching.
I will let him know.
On the preaching.